because I'm convinced that something's going to happen one day. When we stand before him, there are going to be two questions that are essential that he is going to ask. First of all, he's going to say, what did you do about Jesus? That's the first question I believe the Lord is going to ask everybody. And all of us, whether we know the Lord or don't know the Lord, that is an essential question that has to be answered. What are you going to do about Jesus? It's a simple thing, because all will answer it one day or another. It's going to happen. The second question is this: what did you do with what I gave you? Each one of us is resourced beyond 99% of the rest of the world when you live here in America. You have resources that are just magnificent. And the question is really simple. What did you do with what I gave you? Did you take what you had and use it for me? You see, God has a need in mind. And he has a person he has resourced to meet that need. The question is really simple. Did you take the resource he gave you to meet the need he had designed just for you? Or did you sit on it? Well, Dot, in the last 12 years, after we've read the book, retired, and now has been retired for 10 years, has mentored 9 Hmong girls. Every one of them, starting 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade, they're all in college, all doing well. And most of them know the Lord because of the investment of time that she made in their lives. You see, each of us have that opportunity. Well, we began to have this thought. I'm county superintendent. I'm really irritated at what happened in the city of Bell and the way public officials misused the trust of the people. What could we do? We began to discuss, and I came up with this idea. How about if I resign as county superintendent, retire, and work for nothing for the next 3 years? Now, isn't that a great idea? You think about that. What is it like to trust your board that if you resign, they're going to reappoint you to the position you need to fill? I had to have a lot of faith. But in the process of doing that, we had no idea how the Lord would use that circumstance. So I retired, resigned, and then asked the board to put me back in my position to fill out the rest of my term. And we saved $280,000 a year by doing that. Let me tell you, thank you for that, but let me tell you something about that, the backstory. It was 4 days after we did that before anything came out in the paper, because our intent was not to make it public. But God had a different plan. And as a result, I ended up 42 national interviews, 187 front pages of newspapers across America, 2,500 emails from around the world, Kenya, Mongolia, Scotland, all of them asking this question: why did you do that? One way or another, because they wouldn't believe a public official would do something like that. But one email in particular caught my heart. And he said, "You must be a Christian." You see, each one of us lives a life that is public in one way or another. Some are more public than others. But you have a group of people who are watching you to see how you handle this king of your life, what you're going to do, and how important it is that each one of us understand that a word once spoken cannot be retrieved, and even though forgiven, is not easily forgotten. We don't have the luxury as Christians to be out of sorts. We're not perfect. We are forgiven. But we have an obligation to make sure that the words we use build up and encourage and edify and don't tear down. We do not have the luxury of complaining. Do you know that complaining is contrary to our calling as Christians, because it fundamentally makes us say this to the Lord: I don't trust you in your deliverance of me when I complain. You see, we don't have the luxury of complaining as Christians. We cannot complain, because it means we don't trust the Lord. And how important it is for us to never have this said about us: and I thought you were a Christian. You see, we diminish the kingdom little by little when we don't represent the King well, no matter what is happening to us, because adversity is not our enemy, but is actually central to our success. If we're going to revolutionize what happens in Fresno and Clovis and beyond, then we need to look for every need that is out there and find the way for us to step in and fulfill the need. Bob Buford, who wrote the book Halftime, says this: "I hope that the last check that I write bounces." Now, he was wealthy beyond our ability to comprehend. He owned multiple television stations and sold them all and began the process of giving his money away to the work of the kingdom. You see, that's where we should be, because God will take care of us. He will make sure that what we need we have. We is perfectly suitable for doing that. And how important it is that we understand what He has given us is not for us to hoard, but for us to use for the kingdom. And when we catch the glimpse of what that means, you cannot outgive the Lord. As a result of this desire to give something back to the community and do what Dot did, which has given her entire retirement for the last 10 years. She has donated her retirement for 10 years. So when you hear my story, I was so far behind her, I was just trying to catch up with what she had done. See, when God plants in your heart a sense that He has resourced you with time, talent, and treasure in such a way that you're going to impact those around you, and whether it is the public at large or the public in your family, your community, around your little neighborhood where you work, you and only you can impact those. See, your story is the story they need to hear. St. Francis of Assisi once said this: "You should witness every day, and sometimes even use words." So I want to take you off the hook that you don't always have to speak, but you do have to live it. You have to make sure that what you do represents the King the way we want the King to be represented. God gave us the life that we have, and think about this: the life that you have is the one He chose for you to have. So don't chafe that you don't have what somebody else has. You see, He doesn't say, okay, I want you to be a Bob Buford. He says, I want you to be a Larry Powell. I want you to be a Don Escus. I want you to be who you are with the resources I've given you, because I have a need that those resources were designed to meet. And when that need and the resources come together, the kingdom advances. Matthew says this: "Let your light shine among men, that they may see your good deeds." You know how I interpret this? Be the best father, husband, educator, friend, neighbor, taxpayer that I can possibly be. Christians need to set the example of what it means to be the best. People will want to know what causes you to be the best. And as Matthew goes on to say, that they may see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven. Think about that. When you do good deeds, God gets praise. It's a formula that is very real and present for each one of us. And yet how quickly we can fall into the criticism trap. We allow blame to be assigned. We must not faint when the times get tough, but understand a real simple concept from Malachi 3:3. It's one of the most curious verses in the Bible. It says this: "He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver." Now, what in the world can that possibly mean? Well, if you go to a silversmith and ask this question, how do you refine silver? He will tell you, the dross and the silver are put in a cauldron and held in the hottest part of the flame. And while it is there, the silversmith must never take his eye off of it. Because while it's in the hottest part of the flame, it will burn away the dross and the impurities. But if he takes his eye off of it for a second, the silver can be burned away as well. And if you ask the silversmith, how do you know when the silver is done? Here is his answer: when I see my image in it. You see, God is the great silversmith. If you are in the hottest part of the flame in your life right now, understand a couple of things. God will never take his eye off of you. And he will pull you out when he sees his image in you. My encouragement to you today is don't chafe at the adversity, but understand God has you where he wants you for the need he has created for your life to fulfill. Fresno, Clovis, and the greater area here will be better when we match the need and the resource God has given us. I'd spoken to a rather large group of people one time and thought I'd done a pretty decent job, and went and sat down by my wife and said, "Did I miss anything?" She said, "Several opportunities to be seated." So I want to leave you with a couple of words. Keep looking upward in faith, forward in hope, and outward in charity. If you do, you will have learned the secret of what it's like to be a Christian. You will make a difference in the world you're in. God bless each and every one of you.
Larry, thank you. It is time just about to put your iPhone on Ready for Duty. There's a card at your table. Just take a quick look at it. It'd be great if you put your name down on it. You can think about praying. You can think about sponsoring a table. For sure you want your name on this so you can be invited next year to benefit, to be part of the inclusiveness of our greater community. If you have had what has been called an aha moment, we've all had them, where maybe you just kind of want to learn a little bit more about stuff, you can check the little box. Somebody not going to beat you up, not going to make you feel bad. All of us as struggling Christians need a hand up, not a handout. So take a moment to do that. Please take this with you and put it someplace so you understand the challenges, and may our promises and may our good wishes be reflected in our commitment to a plan. Thank you for being here. Thanks for all that organized it. Have a great and enriching day.